Hello and welcome to the spring edition of Ask Me Anything About Business Immigration. We will be taking your questions live, and we have a list of questions that we already received from our audience, so stay tuned, don't go far away.
Just a quick reminder before we start. Please note that whatever you hear in these live sessions or any content you see on social media by Sabirov's law firm is general information only and not legal advice. While we may use certain real-life scenarios or legal cases for learning purposes, it is important to remember that this does not constitute a legal opinion. For personalized legal advice, please consult with your lawyer or hire a Canadian immigration lawyer. Now, let's get back to our show.
So welcome back. As we announced earlier, we have changed the format of delivering our content on a monthly basis. So twice a month we will go live. One will be an interview with an expert or an entrepreneur in Canada. One will be live sessions like this one covering certain topics. While I wait for your questions, let me know if you're following us on YouTube, which channel you're following us on your device. So let us know, because we need some insights from you. And most importantly, if you haven't subscribed to our channel, make sure you subscribe, because more than 90% of our viewers are not subscribers. We would really appreciate your support on that. So we will get the questions. We will start with questions that we already received from audience. So question number one that is coming through is question from the contact form on our website at sobirovs.com website is, are there any language proficiency requirements for business immigrants to Canada? Well, there is, in a way, because you will be running a business or operating a business in an English-speaking or French-speaking community. This goes into the viability of your business and also the chances of success. If you don't speak the language, if you are not fluent, you need to make arrangements which would cost additional money to have an interpreter or someone who speaks your language and English or French when they communicate and do business in Canada. So there is a possibility to go without a language, but that's very risky. Under business immigration provinces, business immigration programs of provinces, which we call PNP for entrepreneurs, there's a clear requirement for language test results. So IELTS or French language test results should be provided by the applicants. For federal business immigration programs, it's not a clear requirement, but in practice, someone without an English language skill or French language skills would have very small chance of success in their application. Overall, based on our previous experience with our clients, we haven't dealt with a client who does not speak English or French. So Canada is a bilingual country. English or French is our official languages, and you need to know enough, sufficient level of that language in order to successfully run your business, hire employees, understand contracts, and so on. So this general question, I think it depends on the business immigration program you choose. When you go with the provinces, PNP entrepreneur streams, there is a clear requirement of test, but when you go with federal business immigration programs, then you have to really strategize how you will address this shortcoming of a language skill in your application. Okay, so and now from live audience, Sam is asking the question: in the business plan for C11, does showing a business expansion into the US market, which has a big potential, is good, or it's negative, or should I only consider Canadian market? You should prioritize Canadian market and show benefits for the Canadians. But if the nature of your business highly relies on exporting goods or services to the United States, that's not a negative thing that will affect your application. North American market is you can say it's one unit, one market overall, because 80% of goods and services produced in Canada are eventually exported to United States. So you need to prioritize Canadian market, but mentioning that you would further expand to the US, that should be at least number 2 priority, because significant benefit for Canadians and Canadian economy is number 1 consideration in your application. Okay. Next question from the live audience. Gulfam is asking the following questions. I'm interested in C11 work permit, which is significant benefit work permit, but I read it is for temporary people, but I want to shift permanently in Canada. What are the options? Well, you may have, and legitimately you are okay to have dual intent. Dual intent meaning you want to do business temporarily on a temporary status, like a work permit status, but at the same time you have an ultimate goal of having a permanent residence, obtaining permanent residence in Canada. Dual intent is not illegal, but that has to be addressed separately. In your temporary foreign worker, work permit application, which is C11, is a temporary work permit for 1 year, 2 years, or 3 years, depending on the situation. You need to make sure that you convince the visa officers that you have enough capacity, capability, and willingness to go back to your home country at the end of your authorized stay. But in parallel, you can also work on your permanent residence, and this should not be negatively affecting your application. You need to prove and you need to convince that you have temporary intent for the purposes of work permit application, but you shouldn't be hiding your permanent residence intention. And we addressed this specific question in our previous live sessions. I suggest that you check our YouTube video channel, and we delve into the details of dual intent. Dual intent is natural. Sometimes it's obvious, but one tip that I gave in that previous video, which I want to repeat today, is that you shouldn't cut all your ties from your home country and come to Canada on C11 work permit. You should maintain ties, which shows your willingness and capability to return to your home country if your initial work permit expires and you cannot extend it, right? So the willingness and capability is clearly demanded. It's required. When you cut all your ties from your home country, you sell all your assets and then come to Canada on a C11 work permit, that's not a good strategy, and you should maintain ties to home country until the moment you become permanent resident in Canada. Yes, it's counterintuitive, but with a good strategy, we have managed to help our clients many times when they had dual intent. Okay. And now questions that we received from our audience on the website. So question from Mike, wondering, sorry, I'm not able to read the Mike Nidell, I guess. So he's wondering if open work permits are being issued to SUV applicants. That's a great question. Mike, thank you for that question. As you remember, last year in June, former Minister of Immigration, Sean Fraser, he announced that 3-year open work permit will be issued for startup visa applicants. But he wasn't very clear. Is it the existing backlog of applicants, which were in thousands by June 2022, or does he mean going forward? Going forward, all SUV applicants will be given open work permit. My humble opinion is that no, the new applicants will be given closed work permits to be able to work on their startup, because the website, and I wrote an article about it, the open work permit became a permanent feature of startup visa program. My analysis concludes that it is not a permanent feature. It was a one-time deal by the Canadian government. In my mind, my very personal opinion, there were thousands waiting for their startup visa results, application results, and government said, okay, let them have these open work permits for 3 years. Let them come to Canada. Maybe they will work for their startups while not forgetting about their startups, they will work somewhere else to make a living. That was maybe a compromise, a little concession from the government of Canada to relieve the stress, the pressure of the startup visa applicants that have been waiting for years for the result of their applications. So I think it's not a permanent feature. You can check on the startup visa the web page by IRCC. The closed work permit, it's still there. If it were that 3-year open work permit becomes a permanent feature of startup visa program, that page should have been updated. And I think as of today, it's still there. So when you go to sobirovs.com website, go to the section called Stories, and I'm bringing it up for you. And you can search, you give a search like open work permit, startup visa, and I think my article will pop up, and you can read it for yourself, that analysis that I did some time ago. Okay, the NDI source, I think, 1 second, I will capture this. Okay, here we go. Yeah, see, this is the article that I'm mentioning today. Will the 3-year SUV open work permit become permanent? This is my opinion. Why don't you go and read, and you will see the story behind it, what happened, where the startup visa going, and so on. But that's a very informed question by Mike. He has done his research, and that's a great question, and I appreciate for your effort to bring that to us today. Okay, SJR is asking, this is from live audience, if one gets the C11 work permit for his own business, how probable is to renew the work permit to continue to operate the business until one gets the PR? Well, it's very probable, and we do that because, remember, by the time let's say you got 2-year C11 work permit, before the end of the work permit, even when your PR is being considered, maybe you launched a PR application, but you haven't finalized it, you haven't obtained the final result of PR. In the meantime, your work permit is expiring. You have to extend. And usually we do that, provided that your business is operational, you've been genuinely running your business, making sales, hiring employees, and so on. Yes, it is possible, and it's very probable too. It's tactical at the same time, because while your PR is not finalized, your expiry is coming, and then you need to renew it. You have to apply for renewal, for extension, and we've done it for our clients previously. So it's very probable and doable. Okay, I think we'll get one more from the audience and one from the questions that we received in advance. Sanjay Ukani is asking, I am in discussion to buy an existing business in Montreal. I do have visitor visa. Can I get work visa post after I buy this business? I want to keep it simple as buying a business and get a work permit, get a work visa. Or do I need to go for any PNP program for buying a business in Montreal? Well, Montreal is located in Quebec. Quebec has its own semi-independent immigration streams. They have entrepreneur stream. I think whether you go through PNP or federal, I think this is you're referring to federal C11 work permit. If that's the case, then yes, you can do that. And if we bring back the first part of the question, please. Yes, with a visitor visa, you can stay in Canada for up to 6 months from the date of your entry, and it's manageable to do it within the 6 months. But if it's not, because it takes time to negotiate and buy and conclude the purchase, if you have to extend, you can still extend and obtain a visitor record saying that you are about to switch to work permit status as an entrepreneur. Yes, it's possible to do it you need to prepare your work permit application, whether it's PNP or federal, while dealing with the negotiation of buying the business. So it's like parallel preparation for both. You negotiate the business, and depending on the commercial terms of how this will work, maybe first step is a deposit, then you apply for the visa because it's a binding contract. Once you obtain your work permit, then you pay the rest of the business. So it depends on the circumstances. If you want to discuss it thoroughly with our lawyers, I suggest you book a consultation. And again, I'm making a reservation. Quebec immigration process is specific and it's very peculiar to Quebec. They have their own ministry that takes care of all the applications. And as a lawyers in Canada, we need a special permission from Immigration Department of Quebec to represent people in Quebec. So there's a double, two-step process. While we can represent you in all other provinces, Quebec is requiring special treatment. Okay. Now the questions that we received in advance. So question is, are there any specific business experience requirements for business immigration to Canada? Well, in practice, yes. And it again goes to your capability of running the business, right? If you buy a business and you have no experience of either being a senior manager in a company or in a business environment, first of all, perhaps the seller will not sell it to you, right? Because they want the business to continue running successfully. The seller may say, oh, you don't have an experience, there's a high chance of failure. And the government's analysis about viability of the business. It's not only whether that specific business is viable or not, whether you will maintain the viability if you purchase that business. So from that perspective, business experience is a requirement. And in practical sense, I haven't seen a person buying a business in Canada with zero experience in management as an employee or as a business owner previously. So you need to be ready. In terms of franchise, for example, if you explore franchising, franchisors, they want an experienced person, at least 1 or 2 years of experience in running any kind of business, because they want their franchise to succeed, again, when they give you a specific exclusive territory for that franchise. Sam is asking another question. In C11 work permit, as a CEO, do I have to pay myself this title wage? Yes, that's a short answer, yes. During the work permit and during the PR considerations too, because if your intention is to give yourself 200 points, that means the company pays you salary, the taxes are deducted and so on. And the continuation of the question is, or I can compromise my salary for the benefit of the business. No, that's not possible because you will be on a payroll of the company. The salary deductions will be done. You will be given salary and all the pension and other tax deductions will be done because the salary is very costly and I will be on the expense of the business. Yes, it is. That's the logic. Yeah, you're right. That's why the financial capacity of the business is scrutinized. When immigration analyzes the whole application, the question arises: Does the business is the business capable enough to afford the following salary? But when you come to Canada on a C11 work permit, you don't have to come on a CEO level. You may have a managerial level, a different knock code, but so you need to strategize accordingly. But when it comes to adding 200 points, that's knock 00 coded professions and jobs and titles. Those are higher salary jobs. It's not a minimum salary. It's quite high. For example, if I remember correctly, in Ontario, for a CEO position, knock 00, I think the salary was around $58 per hour, and that should be paid by your company to you, and all the deductions will be taken. Okay, another question from audience we received in advance. Are there any specific industries or regions in Canada that prioritize business immigrants? And how does this impact the selection process? Well, that's a great question. In general, all provinces want entrepreneurs to move to their territory. But when it comes to regions, I think going in terms of success of your application, if you go to more rural locations where it's not saturated market like in Toronto or Vancouver, if your impact to local economy is positive, that's where the government really likes that. And remember, C11 is more about, C11 and other work permits are more about significant benefit to the Canadians, to the Canadian local economy, job creation, training, knowledge transfer, and so on. So Canada would really like to see businesses go to rural locations, create jobs in rural locations, and in provinces other than popular provinces like Ontario. Ontario is very competitive. British Columbia is very competitive, but there are rural regions which are quote unquote prioritized by government. And there are some rural entrepreneur programs too. I believe it's in Alberta. And certain sectors are prioritized, and sectors usually rely on certain territory. For example, farming sector relies on more rural territory. In general, to answer that question, yes, there are some priorities. There are sectorial priorities, like IT is a priority, high tech is a priority, and so on. Aerospace is priority. Certain provincial nominee programs, the entrepreneur programs, they have certain priority sectors, and you should go and check each province, and usually they announce the priority sectors, and if you want to do business in that sector, they will prioritize your application among others. Okay. Another question from the audience: are there any specific financial support or incentives available for business immigrants to help establish or expand their businesses in Canada? I think the question refers to incentives and support to a foreign business owner. I haven't heard that, but once you become a permanent established Canadian business, then you may be eligible to some grants or tax deduction or research and development grants and so on. Once you become a Canadian business, not while at the stage of your journey from a foreign country to Canada. And I haven't seen any kind of support or incentive. The only incentive, if we can call it an incentive, is to encourage you to go into certain sectors, certain industries, certain regions of Canada. Canada is a huge country. They want to spread the benefit of immigration to all regions, including rural and northern regions. That could give you incentive in the form of cheaper land or cheaper permits, faster processing, and so on. So that could incentivize certain applicants. Amol is asking the following question. Owner-operator LMIA gives 200 points based on prior experience or without any previous experience, but holding senior project engineer position can get you through this, and whether PR is possible. Well, owner-operator LMIA-based business immigration has become more stringent in the last few years. In order to have 200 points, you have to have, as you said, in a senior executive position. Under you, there should be managers. So when you go to NOC code that applies to you and you read the duties, there are duties that imply that underneath that position, there should be managers. You shouldn't be doing the job yourself. You should be managing the managers who may be doing the job and controlling. So there should be more employees in your company. So yes, it's possible. It requires more attention and more preparation. I'm not sure if senior project engineer position is a NOC 00 position, and if your company is a single employee owner operator, you work as an employee and you are a business owner at the same time, there is a risk that if you don't have managers under your position that you manage, there might be a problem, because it's just self-employment arrangement in a way. So in order to benefit from that 200 points, there are certain preparations, certain capital injections, and business plan that reflects the whole structure of that arrangement. We did some videos regarding adding 200 points to your CRS calculations. Go and check out that video. We delved into more details about what are the main red flags, what are the main considerations in selecting the right NOC code. Another question from the contact form of our website is, can I start any type of business in Canada, or there are restrictions on the type of business I can start? Well, Canada regulates several industries like telecom, transportation, aviation, sometimes cannabis production or sale, and also alcohol sale. So that kind of licensing or regulation is there. You need to look into each type of business you want to do, whether it's highly regulated, whether it's the entry barrier is very high. You have to be fully Canadian, like Canadian resident or Canadian citizen, to get those licenses. So there are certain industries are limited, but they are minority in the large scheme of other industries. Most industries are not highly regulated in the sense that foreigners cannot enter that sector. Yes, there are restrictions, and each sector needs to be analyzed, and you need to understand whether you can enter that market or not. Sometimes the municipalities have some say in terms of what you can do or not. So it depends. This is a very general question. 90% of the time there are no restrictions on the type of business, but there are certain types of business that require extra licensing, extra regulation, and so on, extra permits. Okay, another question I think from Amol. I think we got that question already about owner-operator LMIA program. Owner-operator LMIA program is still there. It's a valid program, but it's not, to be honest, it's not our preferred program, because it has a lot of hoops to jump through in order to succeed in adding 200 points. Mr. X is asking the following question. Is there any chance to get a work permit if I purchase existing Canadian cleaning company as a business investment? Yes, and it depends on the size and revenues of that cleaning company. Yes, it's possible, but again, subject to the realities of that business. Is it a new business? Will you inject some money? What kind of benefits will you create? Will you create additional jobs, and so on? Yes, it is possible. Let's discuss it in more detail during the consultation. You can book your consultation with our lawyers at sobirovs.com website. Go there and click on book 1 hour strategy meeting. We will strategize. We will discuss the options for you. And yeah, we always have that policy that if you don't get any value during the strategy meeting, we will reimburse you the fee that is associated with that meeting. If you become our client after the meeting and we decide to work together, we will apply that fee towards your legal fees. So at the end of the day, you probably will have a free consultation. Okay, I think we've answered a lot of questions today, and I'm looking at the clock. Half an hour passed. So next time, stay tuned. We will bring you our expert global mobility manager who will be discussing with me the types of LMIAs and how to succeed in them. What are the priorities? We are launching a series of interviews related to hiring foreign workers for your Canadian operations. So stay tuned. See you next time.
To stay updated on all things related to Canadian business immigration, check us out on social media. Follow us on Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter for the latest news and updates. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and click the notification bell to stay informed about the most recent immigration news, interviews with top immigration specialists, and our weekly live shows. Visit our website at www.sabirovs.com for more information or to book a consultation with our team of experts.